Good morning. Here's Chapter 2 from Dark Secrets Revealed from the Palsy Philosopher. Chapter 2 is called For the Record. I remember just a little about school in Rossmore, California. It was a school with disabled children. I met 4 brothers who had muscular dystrophy in one family. I also met a family who had 3 boys who were little people. I found this time in my life I was about 7 or 8. I found it interesting to meet other people with different disabilities and different problems. I remember reading Dick and Jane, and I also remember having to read maps. It was hard for me to remember places on maps. I remember I had a long bus ride. My brothers and sisters went to regular school. I would come home and TV was separate from me, so a lot of times I would watch TV like Superman, Dragnet, Leave It to Beaver, Gilligan's Island, Toby Gillis, Car 54, Romper Room, Bonanza, The Lone Ranger, and wrestling. I remember all these shows. I liked paying attention to the men. I thought Jack Webb of Dragnet was good looking, and also Hugh Beaumont on Leave It to Beaver. I had probably a crush on Hugh Beaumont, but don't go saying I had a crush on Ward Cleaver because I wanted my dad to be like him, because that's not true. I remember thinking in our living room, should I talk to my dad about this? I figured, no, he had enough to deal with, 7 brothers and 2 sisters, and besides, he may not understand it. I figured people who believed in God would understand it when I got older, the same way I did. I realized I was the only a child, and maybe I might change, but I doubted it. I was never abused by anyone, for the record. And when I got older, I also met gay people who always knew that they were gay too. I was reassured by myself knowing that God did not make mistakes at this time in my life. That's how I felt, and I still do today. Many stupid people think that gay people are recruited, and they also think because I have cerebral palsy sometimes and a cognitive learning problems that you are influenced by others or abused or brought in to being gay. And this is just really, really stupid thinking. It was like I knew, just as I knew I had cerebral palsy at a young age, that I also knew I was gay. At 7 years old, I began to listen to music on the radio. Most of it was from the 1950s because it was 1960. I remember one Christmas I got an AM radio, and I was bouncing around, jumping off the couch, and I was so excited. And it was only AM, but back then I would listen to Elvis and Chubby Checker and other music that was playing in the 1950s. I would channel hop in my bedroom or my sister's room, and it would get my mind off my physical pain and emotional pain. I had my first friend here, Charlie B. And he lived 3 houses down from ours. I remember we used to play in his backyard with these great big building blocks and make forts, and we would play cops and robbers and cowboys and Indians. But I never got into pretending we had guns and shooting one another or shooting at bad guys. The reason why I won't say Charlie B's last name and he had a younger brother, Bruce, is because when I came back and starting seventh grade, he had gotten in trouble with sixth grade and got expelled. And I will get into it later, but he kind of turned out to be a jerk. But like I said, that's a later chapter. My sister Karen knew Pat McCormick, the Olympic swimmer. I was about 8 years old, and she taught me and my brother Bill how to swim. Pat McCormick had a daughter 1 year old who could swim, and she later became an Olympic diver when she got older, and her name was Kelly McCormick. I was able to swim and learn how to, and I loved it. One day I was alone in a 3 foot pool hanging out by the wall. Pat had to go inside or answer the phone or something. I started jumping up and down and going underwater, and I was bored, and I was waiting for her, and all of a sudden I yelled, "Help! Help!" And I was just goofing around. And then she came running back out, and she got upset with me, and she told me about the story about the boy who cried wolf. I think I even cried about it in front of her. I said I would never do that again. But I felt really bad about that, and it was a lesson I really took to heart. The Cub Scouts. I remember my grandma Mabbott was one of the sweetest grandmas on the planet. She took my picture of me in my uniform. I was proud to wear the uniform, but you were supposed to be honest and trustworthy. And even at that age, I felt I was already living a lie, but I had to push it down and hide it. I remember when my dad would come home from work, and I would run up to him and give him a hug and have him jump up in his arm and kiss us. At 9 years old, I did not want my brothers or sisters to think I was a sissy or queer. One day I just told my dad, "I'm a big boy now, and I don't want to hug and kiss you anymore." I'm sure he was kind of surprised by it. I have known Greek and Italians that hug and kiss all the time, so I was kind of stupid. I think that my dad, I think that me and my dad only hugged one more time really after that, and that was when my mom died when I was 28 years old, and it was kind of awkward, which was kind of sad when I stop and think about it. One day our dad called a family meeting in the living room, and we asked, "Where are we going to now? Where are we going to move?" The answer was Belmont, California. My sister Carolyn was 16 or 17, and she stayed there to finish high school. She was the oldest and quite mature, so my parents let her stay and finish high school. She was a good kid, focused, and never got into trouble. She never moved back home. After that, she went to college. And here's a picture of all 10 of us kids. Here's my sister, Carolyn. My sister, Sue. Right there. Me. Bob. Tim. Put Tim's on top. Jim. Mark. Tom. Bob. And Rick. That was kind of tricky to do, but here's how we looked. Problem with my coordination just showed up there. Anyway, here's chapter 2. Please share. I don't have anyone to publicize this stuff, and someday I hope to get it out there on a broader scale. I've led a very interesting life. Hope you're having a good day, and chapter 3 from Belmont will be forthcoming soon. Bye for now.